Suddenly, I understood. If we want to stand any chance against the Titans, we need a devil! I realized that's what Erwin is, and that it's my mission to bring him back! That's why a coward like me outlived the heroes around him, because Erwin needs to fight on! So get out of his way right now! Don't do it!
I love my country. Words that have been uttered out of the mouths of many across the world, mouths that come from all walks of life, regardless of height, weight, gender, race, sexuality. These people essentially all become the same. They all become one underneath this simple phrase, and the binding force of uttering that sentence is a sense of a burning passion to cherish the soil that you represent and have an insatiable drive to protect it at any cost. It's hard to quantify this type of love, as there is nothing to compare it to. It's simple to observe the love between a mother and her child, but what about the love between a man and an abstract concept such as a country? At that point, it becomes nearly impossible to even rationalize. But yet, despite this irrationality, it still exists. Despite transcending all conventional avenues of practicing this thing we call love, millions, maybe billions of people still utter those magical 4 words. I love my country. Every day we are reminded that this love exists, whether it's through sports like the Olympics or the World Cup, reciting the Pledge of Allegiance ever since you could speak, or even flags of your country that wave high every 2 miles. Every day we are told this love is here and should be praised. Floch Forster, a character in Attack on Titan, who is the embodiment of this love, and it's by no surprise he praises Elliot to no end. But how much should a country be praised, if at all? How important should this love be? It's clear humanity has an obsession with loving one's country. What if that obsession grows so large, you begin to love it more than humanity itself? Susie Chasm, famous poet, writes, "When loyalty to a country becomes a higher value than loyalty to humanity, it's time to reassess our values." And this perspective doesn't manifest any clearer than Hajime Isayama's 4th installment of Attack on Titan. How much do you love your country? How much are you willing to give up? How much are you willing to sacrifice for this said country? It's a difficult question to think about, and an even difficult question to answer. But when looking at Attack on Titan in the 1st season, it's clear there's not a lot of love for one's country. You see, when first starting Attack on Titan, Hajime Isayama makes it very clear that the Attack on Titan world is a world not worth living. The Attack on Titan world is a world that consists of poverty, starvation, stratification, oppression, and utter despair. And if you think that's bad enough, you realize almost just as quickly that the only thing stopping humanity from not being eaten by these giant man-eating titans who don't sleep, who can't starve to death, and are practically impossible to kill, is a giant wall erected that people are forced to live inside. So when you're subjected to live underneath these conditions, there is no love for one's country, because what is there to love? And there's no sacrificing for one's country either, because what is there to sacrifice? Group allegiance or group consciousness fails to arise when there's not a common theme for everyone to come together for, or it fails to arise when there's not a common cause for everyone to rally up and fight for. And this is why the Scout Regiment exists. It seeks to further humanity through venturing outside of the walls and slaying titans to find out the truth about what lies beyond those walls. But like I said earlier, the conditions in which the Attack on Titan world brings are so dire and are so desperate, nobody really cares. Nobody really cares about advancing humanity when you don't even know where your next meal is going to be. Nobody really cares about advancing humanity when you live in a stratification system where people living in Wall-Cena live the most luxurious life ever. And nobody cares about advancing humanity when all you can do in your leisure time is drink away the days until you wither into the abyss. And this is why people undergoing military training don't want to join the Scout Regiment, as they see it as unnecessary or a waste of time, as there are far better things to be worried about, like the poverty and the struggles of living underneath this caste system the Attack on Titan world brings to us. And they even see it as a death wish almost, as the risk of being brutally slaughtered by a Titan and never seeing your family again far outweighs the benefit of marginally figuring out what's beyond the walls and the slightest chance of taking a baby step towards the advancement of humanity. When conditions are bad enough, there is no hope for furthering humanity, and there definitely isn't hope in joining as one and protecting the country you oh so desire. But there will be one man who will change all of that. There will be one man who can challenge this notion and change the trajectory of the entire show. There will be one man who will give us hope. Erwin Smith, or better known as Commander Erwin, serves as one of our main characters to our central theme of the show of humanity and the sacrifice that you'll do for humanity. Erwin's takeover of the position of commander in the Scout Regiment was quite a radical one. It's almost immediately you feel his presence as he brings this calm, stoic, and unchanged attitude that a leader should have. But not only that, Hajime Isayama draws Commander Erwin with such strong features, with his powerful jawline, his sharp blue eyes that can pierce through anything, and in the English dub, have a voice that can command a 1,000,000-man army. And this character design is all the more fitting for somebody like Commander Erwin, as he's a person who refuses to let his weakness shine, and even in the most dangerous and uncertain moments, like in the mouth of a titan, charging into battle with one arm, or in the direct sights of the beast titan, he does not buckle and he does not yield in the face of danger. In the Attack on Titan world, it's hard to find somebody quite like Commander Erwin, but this is crucial, as you need somebody as special as him to cause such a lasting impact on the show. Erwin's time as commander of the Scout Regiment proved to be quite a memorable one. As he only existed in a small sliver of time in the entire timeline, he was able to accomplish more than any other leader could with 1,000 more years. Not only was he able to use Eren's Titan-shifting powers to reclaim Wall Maria, he was also able to overthrow the Rice family and even defeat the Beast Titan. But even further than physical accomplishments, he brought the idea that life before the walls may be fabricated. And with every victory, and with every accomplishment, and with every step closer to finding out the truth and closer to ensuring the survival of humanity, the people within the walls began to have hope. Hope for a better future. Hope that things may not be the way they are forever. And more importantly, hope that they really didn't think existed before Commander Erwin came along. Commander Erwin was able to touch thousands of people within the walls. He was able to turn their dying light of survival and just trying to get through the day and ignite it into a burning flame of patriotism, group consciousness, wanting humanity to survive and rooting for the further advancement of Eldia. Commander Erwin was able to shift the overall vibe and sentiment within the walls through his strong, charismatic, and unforgettable reign as the commander of the Scouts. But this is not the Cinderella story I'm making it out to be. To get to the level of prestige and accomplishment as Commander Erwin did, he became quite a controversial figure, as the methods in which he used to further advance humanity consisted of piling the dead bodies of his former comrades. For every successful mission that the Scouts had, there were at least hundreds of bodies that were sacrificed in order to get there, and it's through this sacrifice he was dubbed the nickname Devil of Paradise. And while it would be nice to have everyone come home safe and sound, and at the same time still having a successful mission, Commander Erwin, along with the audience, knows that it just isn't possible. Eldia was only able to advance so far due to the tough decisions made by Commander Erwin, and some of these tough decisions included sacrificing his own comrades. But not everybody is able to make that decision, as it provides almost a moral compromise to somebody's character, as the weight of the death of your own comrades will weigh heavy on you until the day you die. And this is why the manga panel of Commander Erwin standing atop of the dead bodies he'd sacrificed hits so different, because he was able to make generational strides for Eldia, but at what cost? But Commander Erwin kept continuing this, even if more people died, because he believed in order to fully advance humanity and protect Eldia, he had to become this devil. But when Commander Erwin meets his untimely demise in the bigger sacrifice of all, the moral perspective of the show shifts drastically, as it is now known what is going on beyond the walls, and the characters along with the audience know somebody will have to step up to protect Eldia. But this time, the stakes are higher than ever before. The moral shift of the show begins in Season 4, Part 1, as it is very early in the installment that you are met with a moral crossroad. Now knowing what really lies beyond the walls, the main conflict of the show shifts from human versus monsters to humans versus other humans. And this is a very important distinction because these lifeless and almost animal-like titans are placed at a significantly lower level of value than other humans like you and I. So when you look at the things the scouts have done in order to protect Eldia freedom, you look at it through a new lens now, as it's not just these lifeless titans in our way to freedom, it's other humans. So still being just as barbaric and as aggressive as before becomes a lot harder for some people, as it's very easy to justify killing a titan in order to protect Eldian freedom. But if in order to be free, you must kill a 12-year-old Marleyan soldier, some people start to rethink their choices. And this moral uncertainty isn't portrayed any more beautifully than in two parts of this season. The first being Erin's attack on Liberia. Erin is first shown eating William Tiber, and then coordinating an attack on the entire audience watching. And as Erin pounces into this crowd full of Marleyan people, you realize that not everyone sitting there deserves what was coming to them. As you see mothers get killed, daughters being torn to shreds, sons and fathers being crushed underneath rocks, and even other Eldians being killed, you realize that there is a sort of injustice to what Erin is doing. But on the other hand, there were very high-ranking MPs in the audience as well, so if not for Erin's attack, Eldia would not be in such as good as a position as they were. But victory or not, you can't deny the innocent lives that have been slaughtered in order to get this goal, and you can't help but to draw parallels to the first episode of this show. Both the first and the 65th episode of Attack on Titan depict a big bad monster delivering out a terrorist attack on a group of innocent civilians. And I think this is why Isayama had to spend 4 episodes with Gabby and Falco, because it really puts into perspective how morally gray Erin's action is. And this is why the scene in the basement becomes so powerful, because the viewer now asks himself the question, who was really the good guy? The second example of the morally gray vibe the show has to bring in season 4 is with the assassination of Premier Zachary. This occurred right after Erin was brought back to Eldia and placed in prison due to mistrust for him and Zeke's plan. While people condemned Erin's actions, there were also a surprisingly large group of people who found him to be a hero and demanded him to be released from prison immediately. Upon this request, a group of lone actors planned a terrorist attack on Premier Zachary and planted a bomb within his office. And when the attempt was successful, a group of onlookers atop of his burnt and crisp body began the Give Your Hearts chant that was once loved and adored by Commander Erwin, thus starting the official Jaegerist Corps. This essential launching point of the Jaegerist resistance group represents how much the overall sentiment has changed within the walls, as fighting for your country was something that brought together so many people in the past, but is now used to justify chaos, murder, and even further division. And this chant becomes even more chilling once you realize what they're advocating for, and once you realize how different this show is. Season 4 Part 1 brings about a very difficult moral crossroad, as it asks its characters to choose between protecting your country or protecting a world that would rather have you dead. And while most characters hesitated to answer this type of question, there was one individual who did not buckle, who did not yield, and did not hesitate in the face of this moral dilemma. And this individual will go on to become everything that Isayama wants you to know about the loyalty to one's country. And this is where Floch comes in. Floch Forster was a member of the Scouts and sought to bear witness of the true horrors of the Beast Titan attack in Shiganshina. When faced with the terrifying reality of death by the hands of the Beast Titan, he began to grow cowardice. He realized that his existence was merely futile, and all of his dreams, his families, his aspirations, his memories does not change what a speeding rock does to a human body. So Floch grew an enormous amount of hatred for Commander Erwin, as he dared ask his comrades to accept this futile existence and march towards their death for the betterment of Eldia. And Floch says if this is all meaningless, why should he listen to Commander Erwin, and why should he die to protect a country that ultimately failed to protect him? Life is futile. All of it is futile. And there's nothing you can do to ever change that fact. And this is when Commander Erwin steps up and gives one of the greatest monologues in television history. He shouts how we should all cling for meaning, even in the imminent face of death, and this was enough to convince Floch to charge towards the Beast Titan. And as he's charging, watching his comrades, their dreams, their hopes, their aspirations, their futures get crushed underneath a speeding rock, he was the only one to survive. Floch feels that this is some sort of sick joke played by the universe, as he feels like if there's anyone who deserves to live the most, he was at the bottom of that list. And as he's standing there in that open field amongst dead horses, dead comrades, and a dead dream, he sees Levi. He sees the absolute spectacle, which is the takedown of the Beast Titan. And then it all finally hit him. He realized that his life was futile and didn't have any intrinsic value. but he realized that him sacrificing his life was something that was necessary in order to further humanity. And the only way to advance in this hellish world is off the backs of these futile existences and through the sacrifices from these disposable comrades. So even at the beginning of the arc, when Floch despised Commander Erwin for the actions he made, he now stands there among lifeless bodies and finally realizes the true greatness in Commander Erwin's methods. And this is why we see Floch advocate for the revival of Commander Erwin so heavily, as he realizes that he is the future of Eldia, and he is someone we need to depend on in order to further advance Eldia. But when he realized that Commander Erwin wasn't coming back to this hellish world, he realized that he had to become him. This arc became a launching point in Floch's character, as the events that happened within it shaped his actions and motives for Season 4. And when in this season Floch is asked whether or not he would protect Eldia if it meant the genocide of the entire world, Floch did not buckle, Floch did not yield to answer yes. So Floch bites the moral bullet and goes all the way with his love for Eldia. He goes all the way in protecting this country that he oh so loves, even if it means the complete genocide of life outside of it. And Floch goes even further with this ideology, as the killing does not stop outside of the walls. If there is someone who goes against what he believes and goes against the rumbling, he will not hesitate to kill them. Floch was prepared to kill more Marlians, Floch was prepared to kill more Eldians, and was even prepared to kill more Jaegers if it meant that his plan could succeed. So at this point you realize that Floch's love for his country transcends humankind and transcends even some people within Eldia itself. And this is it. This is the logical conclusion I think Isayama is trying to portray with this ideology. It's that the love for one's country is a beautiful way to bring people together, but once those people are unified as one, the only end in sight is the creation of somebody like Floch, someone who, due to Commander Erwin's magic, grew to love the country they exist in, and when faced with the possible extermination of the entire world, they will continue to love their country and put them first to the very end. Floch is aware that his actions are unjust. Floch is aware how immoral it is to assassinate his own premier, kill his comrades, murder innocent civilians, and wipe out the entire earth. But he does not care. Floch does not care for being a moral person, as he has been granted with a second chance at life and feels that the only meaning to his futile existence is to protect the land at any cost. And just like Commander Erwin, he's willing to do anything. He's willing to sacrifice. He's willing to lose himself among the sea of patriotism. But even he has done something even Commander Erwin couldn't fully do. He shredded all parts of his humanity and ascended to a new height of existence, only there for the furtherment of Eldia, no matter what it cost. So here's an ode to Floch Forster, the true Devil of Paradise. Thank you.